Hello, everybody. It's Hudson Miles, Director of Sales for BMO Global Asset Management for Atlantic Canada. This is your Be Memorable for Miles podcast, the only podcast designed for financial advisors in Atlantic Canada. And today I'm very pleased to have with you my guest, the original referral expert, Mr. Bill Cates. Bill is the founder of Referral Coach International. He's also the author of a number of outstanding books focusing primarily on referrals and introductions, including Referrals Now, Don't Keep Me a Secret, Beyond Referrals, and his latest book, Radical Relevance, all of which I believe are available at Amazon. So, Bill, welcome.
Hey, thank you, Hudson. Pleasure to be with you.
Excellent. Glad to have you. So I've known Bill for more than 10 years, and we've tried to get together a number of times, and this is the first time we've actually been able to set up a Q&A interview type event. But Bill's an outstanding resource for anybody that's trying to grow their business, and there's a lot of you out there I know that'll be watching this who are still in the process of growing your business. So Bill, maybe it's just me, but I think it's amazing that despite advisors trying to grow their business via referrals, almost none of them have a strategy.
Right. Yeah. So what I've seen is if you serve the heck out of your clients, if you do a great job for them, you will get referrals, introductions. You should. In fact, unsolicited introductions are a barometer of the good value that you provide. And there's some folks in this business that have just done a great job for a long time, and they have very loyal, happy clients. And they never really asked much. Maybe a little bit here or there, but over time, because most of their clients did come through referrals and introductions, and we should in a minute explain the difference between referrals and introductions, but because most people did come that way, they've got a momentum going, right? They've got people that are predisposed to introduce because they met that way. I was just actually talking to an advisor in Kelowna out in BC just 2 days ago, and he doesn't ask a lot. He asks some, but he gets so many referrals, and we can talk a little bit about what he does, how he gets the unsolicited referrals. And with that said, if we have a way to ask, which is what I teach a lot of advisors, man, what a difference it can make. You can, grow a little faster. You can also grow in the direction that you want to grow if you're a little more proactive, because sometimes when you're just reactive, you don't always get the ones you're looking for.
Yes, that's very true. So maybe, Bill, you can just give a quick update on just a bit about your background and how you ended up being a referral coach.
Yeah, gosh. Well, I've been in business for a long time. I actually owned a couple of book publishing companies, and I sold those companies. One for a pretty good amount of money. The other one just to transfer the debt over to my partner. Sometimes when you sell a business, it's great. Sometimes you just get out of something that isn't so great. So it's a little bit of both for me. And I decided I wanted to help other business owners. I learned quite a bit, and I would start exploring that a little bit. And slowly but surely, I moved into the arena of financial services and referrals and introductions. So what happened when I first got started with this about 25 years ago, a lot of firms hired me, individual advisors for coaching, as well as firms hired me to teach them how to be proactive for referrals, how to ask without begging, without pushing. But then I learned a lot of folks weren't as referable as they needed to be. So they were either too transactional, they didn't create the relationships necessary to generate unsolicited referrals. And so we still focus quite a bit on client engagement and getting to that point of referability. And then, do not call regulations hit the States and Canada and all the different ways it's just become so hard to reach people. We started focusing on introductions. And so to me, the difference, a referral is kind of like a referred lead, call George, use my name. It doesn't work anymore. George doesn't pick up his phone. He doesn't know who you are. He doesn't know why their friend gave your name out to him, So we got to get connected. We got to get introduced. And we emphasize that a lot these days. So whenever you're talking with a client or a prospect or a center of influence of any kind, please use the word introductions. And with that comes the borrowed trust. And we leverage that borrowed trust long enough to earn our own trust in a new relationship. And then my latest book, Radical Relevance, really takes it from the next step, because we get introduced. We usually, the borrowed trust will, maybe get us in touch with that prospect, maybe land a phone appointment, maybe an in-person appointment, but somewhere along the line, we've got to start to build our own trust and talk about our value in a way that's going to really make a difference for us. And so that's what Radical Relevance is about how we discover, communicate our value. And also, I learned in financial services that most people get taught to prospect pretty well. Initially, you get taught to cold call maybe, or you get taught to process leads and deliver seminars. It's all kind of a form of prospecting. Even referrals is a form of prospecting. But my book, Radical Relevance, starts to take it into the realm of marketing, meaning putting a message out there in the world that's actually going to attract people to us.
Right.
Rather than kind of pushing ourselves onto people. And we have to do that. There's nothing wrong with that if we do it right, but also attracting people to us. And so that's kind of where I've evolved to at this point.
Yeah, and that makes perfect sense to me, because I think that's really you're just covering the entirety of a strategy, of a business growth strategy. I think you need to. I think it's clear that most good businesses and advisors, I think, have to spend more time thinking about and working on their business, not just working in their business. And one of the things I find is that there isn't not just they don't have a referral strategy, they don't really have a strategy for how they're going to grow their business, either by push or by pull. So how would you, what would you say to an advisor who said, Bill, my business is okay, but I really need to either jumpstart it, or I'm quite new and I really need to get myself out there. What would be maybe some of the easiest or the sort of the starting points that you would recommend?
Yeah, easiest. I don't know. I think it's easy. It's simple to understand, because we're dealing with people that are hard to reach, et cetera, et cetera. Well, a few things. So I'm in the middle of coaching a guy right now who's been in business for 27 years. And he gets a fair number of unsolicited referrals. And I'll tell you why he gets the unsolicited. And this is a lesson for everybody. And then, what we're doing to get him to become a little more comfortable in the ask, because he knows that there's more opportunity. He's sitting on even a bigger gold mine if he could just get past that barrier of not wanting to ask. So he has a target market. He has a very specific target market. He's in Massachusetts. His target market is Verizon. You guys probably don't have Verizon in Canada. You have your versions of them up there, right?
Yeah,
Rogers and others. And so, but there's a large employer there, and he's been working in that niche market for almost 27 years now. In fact, he jokes that he's just about to be able to qualify. Had he been in their retirement program, he could qualify for their retirement program. So because he targets this market, because he knows their world so well, and we've actually started building him a new website that's going to really show that he knows that market very well, he brings more value, more real value, tangible value that they can see. And they see that he's focusing on other people like themselves, a lot of blue collar wealthy folks there, and they just love him, and it's a good match. And so he gets a fair number of unsolicited referrals because of that. So that's one of the lessons I would say to really anybody, regardless of their tenure in this business. Now, with newer folks, you got to create a lot of activity fast, and you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket of a niche right away. But you do want to look for who are the clients you like to serve, what industry are they in, do they work for a large employer or a university? Where can I create this affinity group and begin to create a reputation? Another one, a brand new coaching client I just took on, 60% of his business is families with special needs children. So it's not a target industry, but it's a target affinity group. And they have formal and informal ways to communicate with each other. And he knows their world better than a generalist, so he brings more value. And therefore, he gets a lot of unsolicited referrals. And both of these guys came to me to, they know they can do more. They know they can move in the direction they want if they were proactive. So the gentleman in Massachusetts, Dennis is his name. What we have him doing is it's kind of a three-step approach. The first thing we're doing is having him do one of the most important things that I've been teaching for 25 years, and that's what I call a value discussion or a value check-in. And he's making sure with each prospect, each client, that they're seeing the value, there's no unspoken complaints, everything is where it needs to be. And from that, he's starting to pay attention what we call value recognizing statements. And just on the phone with him last week, he says, Bill, it works. I was with a client and well, it's actually a Zoom, right? Because he's still, not quarantined, but, working from home. And
Sure.
yeah. And so, the client said some nice things. He says, okay, value recognizing statement, which is what we teach to create that awareness. And he promoted the possibility of introductions, and she introduced him to her brother right on the spot. So we have him checking in, we have him paying attention, and then promoting introductions like don't keep us a secret, never too busy to be a resource for other folks you care about. If you ever identified someone that you think should be aware of what we do, here's how I handle it. And we teach folks how to do that. And so that's the promoting side. And because he's reluctant to go to the ask, but he's having so much success with this side, he's getting ready. He's in fact, by the time I talk to him in a couple of weeks, he probably will have asked a few times. And in 27 years, he's hardly ever asked. He just never really found an approach that fit and seemed right for him and his clients. And so finally, I think we came up with something that's going to work perfectly for him. So that's a lot I said there. I know that. So it's, targeting a niche market, an affinity group makes a huge difference. And then, being appropriately proactive to get more introductions.
Yeah, those are really great points.
Thanks.
I wasn't planning to ask you this, but I guess the comment that you made about niche, I guess resonated with me. And I talk to advisors about niche markets, and I talk to them about looking at their book, and most of them haven't even looked inside their book to see if they have a market. I don't want to call it a natural market because that sort of indicates you're related to your age and whatnot. Typically, but sort of, do you have a market do you already have a market inside your book that you just haven't identified? Every advisor that I know, or most advisors I know, say that they want to target business owners or medical professionals, or it's like, well, everybody's doing that. So, but the other thing I run into, because of where I work and the advisors where I work, it's a small market. Even the biggest city here is a small city by most standards. So often they'll say is, well, I can't specialize. I don't have enough people to specialize. I have to be a generalist. How would you answer that question or that comment?
Well, yeah, I would say yes, but is what I would do.
Yeah,
I get it. I mean, when you're in a smaller market, for instance, to target business owners in a specific industry, all right, maybe there aren't enough business owners in that industry, to stake your career on. Maybe there isn't an employer large enough in your area to stake your career on. Maybe a university. I don't know enough about Eastern Canada to know, but you can still have some areas of focus. So, and you may not have one target, you may even have a couple, especially if you're a veteran. So if you're a veteran in this business and you look at your book, as you've been talking, you'll see these clumps of people, right? There'll be some folks that are all kind of related, all part of this extended family, right? And there'll be these folks that do work for a university, and these folks, these 4, 5, 7 clients,
yes,
work for the same employer, and these are small business. So you have it in your book probably. What you just need to do is put a little more focus and intentionality on that. Try to work the introduction process for that group. And if the potential is big enough, then you can do educational events to the group, events, especially when we're out and about, can be in person again for folks in that group. Some mini target markets, and it's still more effective with your messaging than being a generalist, because the problem is when you're a generalist and you're trying to attract a wide swath of people, your messaging, what you say on your website, your LinkedIn profile, sometimes how you reach out to folks, is not going to be as effective as if it were more narrow. So for instance, one advisor that she's not a coaching client. In fact, I'm interviewing her for an article coming up. She has five target markets because she lives in a smaller town. But on her website, when people arrive at the website, they see that she works with physicians. She sees that she works with small business owners. They see that she works with folks in a particular university near her home. So they can identify who they are on her website and then click that link and then go in and get very targeted, specific information. So it's still very possible to have some target markets. Again, not feeding your entire career, be little pieces, but your messaging, the questions you ask, the things you teach, the specific work you do will all be more effective and more relevant and more attractive to them.
Yeah, that's great. And that's, I guess I feel like I'm on the right track when I'm talking to advisors. This is sort of what I'm trying to get across with them. You're more eloquent than I am. But you kind of mentioned it, but I'll ask it in a formal question anyway. But do you recommend LinkedIn as part of the strategy, as part of the radical relevance strategy, or how do you recommend that they use LinkedIn?
Yeah, so LinkedIn definitely works better when you have a niche market, an affinity group, a target of some sort, but it doesn't have to be. Well, first thing, and everybody knows this already, you should have a very good, up-to-date LinkedIn profile, and lots of things we could talk about there, because a lot of people will Google you, even if they've been recommended to you, and they'll see, and the first thing that comes up quite often is your LinkedIn profile, and so you've just got to look good and solid there. Have the right message to people so it makes sense and attracts them. But beyond that, how you can use LinkedIn, of course, is to identify folks in an affinity group, in an industry, in a company, in a university that you might want to meet and be able to suggest those people to clients for possible introductions. The problem is when you're not looking more narrowly, you can't really tell whether they know the people they're connected with or not. There's no way to really know if they know those people, or those people are, they know them well enough to introduce you. But let's say you were targeting an employer, a medium-sized to large employer in your area, and you see people that are linked to them who are, work for the same company, maybe even work in the same department or at the same level, same title in that company, right? Now there's a pretty good chance they know those folks. And look down at the endorsements and the recommendations, and who's recommending, endorsing them. You can get a feel for who knows them well. Maybe their name is Robert, in the LinkedIn profile, but the person who's endorsing them calls them Bob or Bobby. Well, now this person knows them, right? And so that's what you're trying to do, is to narrow the relevance of the people in their LinkedIn profile. By the way, for financial advisors, financial consultants, I don't recommend that you just build a humongous list of folks that you're connected to in LinkedIn, because one of the strategies of LinkedIn, besides adding content and doing what they call content marketing, it's also responding to posts that you see from prospects and clients. And when you have too many people in there, you just take anybody, then it's hard to see the posts of the people you really want to engage with. So for most financial folks, I say keep it narrow, keep it within the group of people you really want. For myself, 99% of the business I do is with financial advisors. And so if someone reaches out to me and they're a graphic designer, let's just say, I don't accept the invitation, because that's not my target market. It doesn't do me any good to get that person on my list. So just a few thoughts about LinkedIn. I'll be honest with you, Hudson. Most of the people making money on LinkedIn are people trying to teach others how to make money on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I think that's
that's a big part of it. Let's put it that way.
Yes, I agree. But I'm the same as you. When I first started using LinkedIn, I was just adding people, and I don't live in my hometown, but my target market is effectively the same as you. My target market are financial advisors, centers of influence related to the financial advisors, branch managers, regional managers, etc. And when I first started using LinkedIn, I would add everybody, people from my hometown where I went to school, and then I started scrubbing it, and I've gotten rid of most people. I've had a hard time getting rid of closest relationships and stuff, but my target are again, they're financial advisors or those that work with financial advisors directly, and people like yourself or other centers of influence who I think can either help me or help me help advisors. So that's really how I've narrowed it down for my own LinkedIn profile, and
Right.
for the same reason. And I'd have to say that just not. I want to ask you a couple more questions before we finish this off, because I don't want this to be too long. But I don't think that advisors use LinkedIn effectively in most cases. In some cases, it's because the firm that they have doesn't allow them to post very much outside of certain approved posts.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess are there, last couple of questions I have for you actually is there anything that kind of jumps out at you when you're talking to advisors, mistakes that you run into more often than not?
Yeah, I'll talk about a mistake that I see most advisors make when talking about their value. Where you see it most prominently is on their website and sometimes a LinkedIn profile, but it really can permeate a lot of things. And I'll give you a specific example. So I think about most adventure movies. Think about the early Star Wars movies. They're based on a storytelling formula called the hero's journey. And so the formula goes something like this: you have the hero, and they encounter a problem, and in early Star Wars it's Luke Skywalker, and the problem, of course, is Darth Vader. And then they find a guide, and guide the Yoda the guide was right. And so the guide and the hero work together to defeat the enemy. That's pretty much, and in that the hero transforms, goes through a right. So the problem is the hero, when really they should be setting themselves up as the guide. The clients are the hero. Your prospects are the heroes. They want to be heroes of their own story. And so you want to be able to talk about what you do in a way that draws people into your site. Yes, you do need to create credibility at some point, but you shouldn't be leading with, top 100 advisor in Canada, or any kind of credit, award or credibility builder. There's an advisor in the United States who, on everything he does, it's Barron's top 100 Hall of Fame advisor. All right, well, that's pretty cool. That's pretty special. But prospects, clients have no idea what that means. And, it's just his ego and trying to establish credibility. But you don't want to do that until you draw people into your story a little bit. And so when you think of the clients as the hero, you think, all right, what are their challenges, right? What are they facing? Start with that. What are their opportunities? What's possible for them? Then, go to that next. And then you start to apply for yourself as the guide. I'll give you one example on my own LinkedIn profile. First of all, I'd love to have your folks that are listening join me on LinkedIn. It's just type in Bill Cates, and hopefully I'll show up first. There's other Bill Cateses out there. Every now and then I run into them at trade show events where I think someone stole my badge, but they actually have the same name. And but anyway, you'll and feel free to connect. But where I'm going to here with this is in the about section, where we describe what we are, who we are and what we do. Just in the spirit of me being the guide and the visitor being the hero, I say, enough about me. Let's talk about you. And the first couple sentences are about advisors who are probably looking at my profile. I try to show some empathy and understanding for the challenges and opportunities. The next couple of sentences are more for the leadership, right? The home office folks and trainers and managers and leaders. And I show a little empathy and knowingness for their world. And then I talk a little bit about my credential and why perhaps I could be a resource for those folks. So that's kind of the flow we want on a website, on a LinkedIn profile. Whenever we talk about our value, we just demonstrate empathy for the folks that we're trying to reach, knowing some of their issues and problems, knowing some of their opportunities. And then we start to bring in our credibility in a way that relates to them.
Yeah, that's good. I think it's, for most of us, we always look at these situations as what's in it for me. And I think that's what advisors have to start with when they're doing these sorts of things. So
yeah.
Really, I just have one more question. I guess it's sort of a question, but Any other key points that you think that you'd like to share with advisors?
Well, yeah. So I want to give people what I've found is the secret sauce for creating advocates for our business. All right. So, we can get introductions from folks, and that's great. We want introductions. But the higher form, if you will, are the advocates. And of course, not every client is going to become an advocate. Some are naturally predisposed. They're wired that way. When they find a good thing, they just like to talk about that good thing to others. And those are great to have as clients. Others can be nurtured and created over time. And what an advocate does for our business is, first of all, they do recommend us. They vouch for us. They endorse us, whatever word you want to use. They say good things about us. You should work with him. He's great. Or you should take your call to be worth your time. And then they also pay attention to the connection. They want to make sure the connection goes through. I'm sure everyone can relate to a client or two saying, hey, did my friend call you yet? Or have you reached out to my friend yet? And that's what an advocate does, is making sure the connection goes through. All right, so what's the secret sauce to making that? I call it business friendships. And what I mean by business friendships, it's not like, your best buddies and you go out drinking late at night and tell each other deep, dark secrets. That's not what I mean. I mean, you've created a relationship that's gone beyond the core work that you do. And you really, truly do get to know, like, and respect each other. And I'm sure just about everybody, listening to this has a few of those. So we want to work on those. And the best way to do that are client appreciation events, whether they're very small, whether it's just you and another client couple or two, or it's a little larger. But just meeting and getting to know people outside your office or their home, right? Creating that business friendship. And that's where people start to see we care about them, and then they care about us. And we help them create a vision for their financial future. And they want to know what we're trying to accomplish in our world, and they want to support us and help us. And so, when I teach about referrals and introductions, I want to make it mostly about the value we've provided and the relationship we've created. And all that good stuff. But there does come a time where a lot of clients do want to help us. They do want to help us reach the next level of growth, whatever that is. And so we want to recognize and identify and nurture those relationships. And so that business friendship is key. And, during the pandemic, obviously, it's been a little harder. We can't get together in person with folks. But I got to tell you real quick, and I know you got to go, but this is a great little thing. I was just speaking to an advisor in Canada. Her name is, let me get it right, Lisa Marie Winnings. And when the pandemic hit, she was frustrated because she couldn't do the client appreciation event she used to like to do. She's very, very successful. And so she created a virtual one. She found a great musician friend of hers. They did a 5 weeks in a row Friday night concert series with this musician playing, singing, great person, very talented. People didn't have to show their pictures, their cameras. They could just enjoy it. And she had a charcuterie tray delivered by an employee or a family member to each person's home before this little concert started. And the first one was just for clients, but because they responded so well and started posting it on social media, she started encouraging them to invite their friends and colleagues. And for what cost her a little amount of money, she's acquired 5 high-level, high-net-worth affluent clients without even asking. They just realized, my friend is using you as your advisor. You do this for her, right? I should know you. And so we can still engage in client appreciation activities now, even if we can't meet with people in person.
Yeah, that's outstanding. And I'm not surprised that that's led to referrals, because I think that's sort of introductions and new clients. That's really what it's about.
Yep.
I can kind of tell when I hear advisors telling me that they have clients when they're talking to them, and the clients seem to be spending more time asking how the advisor is doing through the pandemic or through the challenging markets or whatever. That to me tells me that they've got some advocates there. And maybe they're not even taking advantage of the relationship to the extent that they could be with that advocate. But
that's right.
So yeah, in closing, Bill, really, I guess this will be about you. So where, other than just LinkedIn, where and I guess some of your books, where else can advisors find you? And maybe you could just give me a quick overview of the different services, because I know I haven't been on your website in a few months, so I'm not sure what's on there now. But I know you've in the past you've offered different things, different ways to help.
Yeah, and for individual advisors, we do have several coaching programs, very affordable. So if you go to Coach Cates, CATES, we wish it was Bill Gates, but I missed it. So you go to CoachCates.com and you can check out the programs there. If you're interested in our book, Radical Relevance, just go to RadicalRelevanceBook.com and it can tell you a little more about the book and see if it makes sense for you. And it's in audio, it's in Kindle, it's in paperback. And then our main website is ReferralCoach.com. Tons of resources. I do speak at events. I've been doing a lot of webinars for firms in Canada and the US right now, bringing some of my ideas there. So I love doing that. And then eventually we'll be able to travel and, get out and about and see people face to face. And I'm looking forward to doing workshops and speeches again. So that's a sense of what we do.
Yeah, fantastic. And obviously anybody that's on this who can't seem to find you, although you gave a very good description of how, certainly if you can't find Bill, reach out to me because I can certainly find him. I know where to find him, and he's very easy to find and very responsive. I can definitely tell you that. So in closing, I just want to say that for those that are watching this podcast who are doing business with us presently, I want to say thank you. I do appreciate your business and I hope we continue to earn your business. And for those of you that are not doing business with us presently, I really would love the opportunity to sit down with you. I guess right now I would be sitting down with you virtually, but to see, if we could have a chat to see if there's a way and a reason for us to work together. And with that, remember, be memorable and you'll hit it for miles.